A claim that Disney regrets the WWE deal. A talent chooses AEW over TNA. My review of AEW Dynamite and more. I'm Luke Owen and this is the WrestleTalk News.
Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe.
When WWE signed a deal with Netflix to start airing Monday Night Raw, it was figured that once their TV contracts had finished up elsewhere for their other shows, they'd also end up on Netflix. Same for the PLEs, which were airing on Peacock. Everything all in one place, like a modern day version of the WWE network that, I don't know about you, I miss quite a lot. That setup where everything is in one place is what we have here in the UK and around the world in other territories. Raw, SmackDown, NXT, PLEs, archive pay-per-views, and select older episodes of Raw, SmackDown, and NXT are all on Netflix. Psst, Americans, use Surfshark VPN. But as their Peacock deal was coming to an end, it was reported that there could be a new home for WWE PLEs, and it wasn't Netflix, but instead ESPN's new streaming service. It was then officially announced that all upcoming WWE PLE, starting with the 2026 WrestleMania, would air on ESPN+. Very quickly though, that was moved forward at a hell of a pace, and the ESPN relationship started in the summer of 2025 with WrestlePalooza. The Hollywood Reporter wrote at the time that WWE had brokered a deal with NBC Universal, the owners of Peacock, to leave the platform early, with the Wrestling Observer noting that WWE doing extra shows like Evolution 2, Clash in Paris, and the second night of SummerSlam meant they'd already hit their PLE quota for the service. Once Peacock gave WWE the okay, WWE went to ESPN to say, let's get this started early. And that was great news for ESPN, as they were launching their service at the same time as Fox's new streaming platform, and they wanted the bigger launch. WWE went into overdrive for the ESPN debut. They brought back Brock Lesnar, they brought back AJ Lee. WWE's Nick Khan was talking WrestlePalooza up as being the next big brand for the company. And when all was said and done, ESPN gave it a C grade, which some felt was actually quite generous. When the deal was first announced, WWE fans were quite vocally annoyed on social media, as ESPN Plus is a lot more expensive than Peacock, and it's a lot more than Netflix here in the UK, where we're getting the same PLEs and a lot more. It didn't help that WrestlePalooza was a subpar show. Now, there's been no report or word if WWE's presence on ESPN has actually added a huge amount of signups for the service. Like a lot of other streaming platforms, ESPN are keeping all of those numbers and details close to their chest. But according to Freddie Prinze Jr., ESPN are not best pleased with the WWE deal. That's right, we must turn to Freddie from Scooby-Doo to find out the truth. Zach from She's All That said on his Wrestling with Freddie podcast, ESPN, by the way, so unhappy with the WWE deal. I was talking to a friend of mine who works for Disney, and he was just like, yo, they better make their money back on this deal. He just said, they're hot. Disney, they're so hot right now. I'm being facetious about Freddie Prinze Jr., by the way. He seems like a lovely chap. I think She's All That is a great film, and he's great in it. It's just difficult to know how much value to put on his word. He's not exactly a Sean Ross Sapp, but he is someone in Hollywood circles, which would include people who work for Disney. His wife is working on the new Buffy the Vampire Slayer show, which will air on Hulu, which is owned by Disney. He probably does know people who know a thing or two about a thing or two. But speaking of Sean Ross Sapp, he reached out to people who work at both ESPN and WWE to find out what they had to say about Freddie Prinze Jr.'s comments. He writes, one rep from ESPN simply claimed that they haven't heard that chatter and have enjoyed working with WWE. His WWE source said, no one in WWE upper management is aware of Freddie Prinze's role in wrestling or otherwise. Now, I'm not saying that Freddie Prinze Jr. is completely right and we should trust him implicitly, but those are some serious and hilarious non-answers. The WWE one is essentially, he doesn't even go here. But what do you make of all of this? I am curious if you have signed up for ESPN Plus and how you're finding it. Do you use it just for WWE? In which case, do you think it's good value for money? Or do you like other sports and are getting those which might make the platform better value? Let me know in the comments down below. Sean Ross Sapp is also reporting that a hopeful TNA signee has instead gone elsewhere. It was officially announced this week that TNA would begin airing on AMC starting in January 2026, a massive deal for for the company, though there are now conflicting claims within TNA if WWE actually helped broker the deal or not. Fightful added that TNA now have a bunch of contracts to renegotiate, including Jake Something, The Inspiration, Matt Cardona, Mustafa Ali, Jody Threat, and more. But there were also claims that TNA were looking to bolster out their roster ahead of the January launch on AMC, and one of those names could have been Lena Kross. Back in July, TNA brought Kross in to work a match tagging with Rosemary in a losing effort to Harley Hudson and Myla Grace. Literally 1 week later, AEW brought her in for a collision match against Chris Statlander, and she was brought back again for a dark ROH match where she beat Lacey Lane. Lane has since signed with AEW, and it would appear that Kross has too. Sean Ross Sapp reports TNA brought her in, but she quickly appeared on AEW after that. It would seem that AEW won out in that regard, because word we've got from people in the company is that she's either signed a deal with AEW or will be soon. SR adds that Kross is in the process of moving to Florida. And speaking of AEW, it's now time for my review of AEW Dynamite, which kicked off with Tony Schiavone in the ring for a face-to-face between Samoa Joe and Eddie Kingston ahead of their title match on next week's Winter is Coming. True to form, Samoa Joe kicked Schiavone out of the ring and then gave Eddie Kingston a similar promo to the ones cut by CM Punk and Bryan Danielson. You can never win the big one, and you are a man full of potential that you will never fulfill. Which allows Kingston to cut a promo about his frustrations from the past and talk about his heroes from the past like Homicide, saying that this Samoa Joe isn't the same Samoa Joe who was the greatest Ring of Honor champion of all time, and instead he's just a veteran giving younger talent like Hook bad advice, the same kind of veteran the old Samoa Joe used to call out. He told Joe to bring the true Samoan submission machine next week or he'll eat him alive. It was another great promo from Kingston, following on from the superb promo on Collision. And after saying on this show that his team with Hook is not what I would have done with an Eddie Kingston return, the train is seemingly back on the tracks. Pac on 3 points took on Kazuchika Okada on 0 points in the Gold League of the C2 in a really great match. It looked like Pac had it won with a lariat and brutalizer, but Okada was able to transition into a crucifix pin to get a crucial 3 points. Bloody love the C2. Mark Briscoe cut a promo on Daniel Garcia to set up a TNT Championship match and was also part of a conglomeration promo to hype up Orange Cassidy versus Roderick Strong in the C2. The Demand also cut a promo saying Ricochet will be at Final Battle to defend his national championship against Dalton Castle. Speaking of the C2, and it was announced that Darby was not medically cleared for his travel this week, he is hoping for a speedy recovery. Kyle Fletcher on 3 points took on Kevin Knight with 3 points in Gold League action, which was really full of dramatic near falls. This was a great match, and Kyle finally got the win to take the lead in his league. Don Callis then brought out Josh Alexander and Hechicero to cut a promo on the Young Bucks, and I think we had some timing issues here, but eventually we got back from the break, and Don said that he can forgive lying, he can forgive backstabbing, he can even forgive murder, but he cannot forgive teaming with Kenny Omega. The Bucks came out for a brawl with the family, and Jurassic Express ran down for the save. Okada then came down to swing the odds back towards the family, leading to Omega coming down for the save. I smell a 10-man tag, player. Later in the show, Don Callis trying to explain away the confusion that AEW themselves have caused with the Continental Championship being up for grabs in the C2 despite being unified with the International Championship back in July. Don Callis said that the Unified Championship design was just a symbol for both titles that were in fact never actually unified into one title and have always been two separate titles, despite the fact that Swerve Strickland faced Okada for the Unified Championship at Forbidden Door. Look, I appreciate that AEW have heard the criticism that people like me, Sean Ross Sapp, the Wrestling Observer, and others have given, but do you know what could have saved this headache? Not making the C2 for a title belt! You literally fixed this issue at All In, and now you've undone it all, and I don't know why! Especially because you've just introduced another title in the National Championship, which means count them, 4 mid-card titles in the men's division. This is the Babes of Wrath cut a promo, and the Timeless Love Bombs beat Megan Bayne and Marina Shafir to advance to the finals of the women's tag tournament. This was a holiday street fight, but it wasn't as wacky as I wanted it to be given the match name. We got a candy cane wrapped in barbed wire, sure, but where's the barbed wire Christmas tree? Where's Marina Shafir being stomped barefoot in some baubles like Marvin Home Alone? A missed opportunity if you ask me, but it did feature a fun finish when Luther made his return to once again team with Tony Storm. Jamie Hayter and Chris Statlander cut a promo on the Sisters of Sin, with Hayter being set up for the next contender for the world title. Dark Order cut a promo about their match with the Ops. Mercedes Moné cut a promo on Red Velvet ahead of Final Battle. We got a video promo for FTR versus the Bang Bang Gang, then FTR cut a promo on the Bang Bang Gang, then the Ops beat Dark Order in a short match. Hangman Page came down for a brawl and later challenged Shibata and Hobbs to a tag match next week, presumably with Swerve Strickland as his partner. And the main event was my most anticipated match of the night, as Jon Moxley on 3 points took on Claudio Castagnoli on 3 points in the Blue League. Moxley has become one of AEW's most compelling characters, and that was on full display in this C2 match. From the outset of Marina Shafir sticking around at ringside before being sent to the back per the rules of the tournament, which Bryan Danielson wondered out loud if that was a Mox call, to have her out there like some sort of intimidating comfort blanket, all the way through to an almost desperate babyface comeback for Mox as blood poured from his head. It's a shame that the crowd weren't loud for this, because I thought it was excellent, and just as it looked like we were heading for a time limit draw, Claudio hit the running uppercut with the 5-minute left announcement to pin Moxley and get another 3 points. Danielson said on commentary, "When we were in the Blackpool Combat Club together, I was never able to defeat Jon Moxley. That's why we saw him as the leader. Claudio Castagnoli has just defeated Jon Moxley." This was another great edition of Dynamite, built around the C2, and next week has some tasty matches announced. I can't say that it was better or worse than the first round of the C2, but it was certainly as good, I guess. But what's really going on with Roman Reigns' later power play? Check out yesterday's WrestleTalk news to find out more.